that sunrise. We are in Thunder Bay, Canada. Wow. Tell you what, Microsoft Flight Simulator does sunrise and sunset pretty good, doesn't it? Hi, I'm Dave. I do the Spy Flights over on Twitch TV, and every now and then come over here on YouTube and do what I call the Cold and Dark Full Flight Series. We have had a lot of interesting updates that have come our way, and the first thing is we got Sim Update 10. Right now, I am in developer mode. I don't usually keep developer mode on, but I did want to go and take a look at the FPS and see what we got here. And I will tell you that my FPS, I've gotten about another 10, 15, 20 FPS with this, with just this view here. You can kind of see the frame rates up there in the top. So let's see, let's go ahead and zoom down. We are in drone camera mode. So let's see if there's any big hesitations or anything. It's actually been really smooth. Now, yesterday I flew this airplane. This is another update that came in there. The BAe-146 from Just Flight got an update. And yesterday's flight on a spy flight was pretty close to tragedy. Well, flight sim tragedy, actually. So what ended up happening is we had all of these really bad hesitations and things like that. So, you know, we'll see what happens on this one. Now, we're going to try and do the exact same flight. I have done a couple of things differently, so let's take a look at what's going on. First of all, Sim Update 10, definitely seeing more FPS. That's really pretty cool. We are also doing the updated flight, an updated Just Flight BAe-146 flight. Things I'm using today, Sim Toolkit Pro, Sim Brief, Sky Vector, and not so much Sky Vector on this one. Navigraph charts and data, and also a free application called Pushback Helper. Okay, so that's what we're doing on today's flight. Last night's sim, there were what I'm going to call simulator burps. And the best way that I can describe that is we're flying along and it goes, and there might be another name, hesitations or something like that. I'm calling them sim burps. Was what was going on with those. And so last night we had sim burps. We're going to see if we do this again, because one of the things that I did yesterday is I started the spy flight and we did a couple of flights in the PMDG 737. And then we decided, hey, let's check out the new BAe-146. And what I did was I exited the PMDG, went back to the main menu, and then just loaded in the BAe-146. My suspicion is the best thing for us to do is to restart the sim. If you're going to change airplanes, maybe it's a good idea to restart the sim. Now, that could be conventional wisdom that everybody else knows, and I just didn't get the memo on that. But again, restarting the sim, I think, is kind of a thing. Current weather and time. Right now, we'll switch to current weather and time in just a second, but the view outside the cockpit was really, really nice out there. Let's go ahead. We're done with, let's turn off the FPS for the moment. I mean, wow, what a great view outside the airplane. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go up here and we're going to do real world weather. And we're going to do real time. Oh my gosh, it definitely, the sun's up a little bit more. I think some clouds will fade in just a second. Okay, that's probably closer to real world weather in Thunder Bay. Yesterday, I was also on VATSIM and multiplayer. Okay, so there wasn't an awful lot of activity on VATSIM. There isn't any activity on VATSIM right now. So what we'll do is I'm going to go out of here and let's just go into Microsoft Flight Simulator multiplayer. And we're just going to get multiplayer data going. I don't think we're going to see an awful lot of people. It's really kind of early in the flight sim world. But we'll see if that doesn't cause some of those hesitations too. Again, I don't know what was causing it. This is a brand new update on the airplane. The PMDG flew great. So maybe some of my, maybe restarting the sim will prevent the burps. We'll see. The flight plan today, just like we did last night, Thunder Bay to Chicago O'Hare, taking off on runway 25. The flight plan is slightly different, not totally different, but a little bit different today. We're coming in on Flight 7. They did move us over to the Ernie arrival, so there were a number of, I think we got like 3 stars. We got 2 changes in stars from VATSIM last night. So we're coming in on Chicago's runway 27 center. Cruise is the same, flight time's the same, flight distance is the same. So let's go ahead and recreate the flight, and let's see if we get those big bad hesitations and stuff. Let's see, the BAe-146 is an amazing little airplane. I do have a little spy flow, some cheat sheets that I'm working on. It's sort of an evolving document right now. And if you go over to Spy Discord, link in the description, I'm going to go ahead and put the latest one. There's a special tab over on Spy Discord called Checklists, and that's where I'm going to put the latest version of this. Again, with this airplane, it's constantly evolving because there's a lot to learn about this little airplane. The BAe-146 is a cool little airplane for sure. I've really enjoyed learning how to fly it. I was only a passenger on this once. It was a United Express flight from Denver to Colorado Springs. So let's hop into the best seat in the house. And here we are. A big improvement that just came out from Just Flight with this update is an electronic flight bag. We've got some pretty cool stuff in here. So let's go to the OFP, and you can go ahead and put your SimBrief username in there, and that will go in and load your flight plan. You can also go to the output page, and there is the flight plan with your zero fuel weight and everything else, which I think is really awesome. It'll also give you the METARs for our origin and our destination. Again, super duper helpful. You can hit the refresh button if it's a longer flight. Okay, so we got that going on. Let's go into the aircraft now, and it gives you the option. Do you want to import the OPF payload? Sure. And if you do that, now passengers 54, cargo, what did this give me? SimBrief gave me some different numbers as far as passengers and cargo, but this zero fuel weight, 28,668, that is still the same as the flight plan, 28668. So even though the passenger numbers, so if you go to page 3 on your flight plan, it shows passengers. So SimBrief gave me 69 passengers and no cargo. Okay, that's a little weird. So that was a difference that I noticed, but I don't think it's a huge difference. But if you're jumping down rabbit hole numbers, you're going to notice a difference there. But in the end of the day, your zero fuel weight is still the same. Total fuel weight, SimBrief said 5.918 kgs of fuel, and you can see my fuel here is 5.918. So we're good to go there. Chocks are in place. I'm going to go ahead. Let's click ground power. So we're going to punch in ground power. Let's also do the forward passenger door, and we're going to open up the cargo bays. And you can see the cargo door is open here. And looks like I think we've got the sun kind of trying to shine through the clouds. That's what that shimmer is there. Okay, no jetways where we are at. Actually, they do have jetways, but we're going to use stairs. And so for this airplane, you can deploy the stairs. You can open up the stairs. You just can't retract the stairs without hydraulic pressure. So there we go. All right, now we can walk up the stairs and really get into the best seat in the house here. So according to my little to-do list here, we've done the electronic flight bag is on. We've imported the flight plan. We've opened the door. Cargo doors are open. We've checked zero fuel weight. We've checked gate fuel. The first thing that I saw on the to-do list for starting this airplane is before you turn on the power, dial the weather radar tilt up. So we'll dial up the weather radar tilt. And then come over here and make sure that the landing gear lever is down. We're also going to make sure that the air brakes, they call them air brakes in this airplane, are in the proper position. And I think that that's really about it. You could also try and move your controllers and just make sure that those are working. Once you've got those, that's real pilots. They check their controls too a little bit later on. But for flight simulator pilots, make sure that your USB controllers are connected by just jiggle those things around a little bit. Make sure that your controllers are attached. I always like to tell the story. One day I didn't do that. I was in the Airbus. We were hurtling down the runway, pulled back on the stick, and nothing happened because the stick disconnected. The only way I was able to save the day was with trim, and had to fly the rest of the flight with trim because that was at a day where you didn't dare plug and replug USBs. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to go and do power. So power up for the airplane. We have battery 1 and battery 2. This is of all the overhead panels, so this one is sort of like this, all the buttons look the same, and it's kind of hard to see from a big picture where everything is. So I've always been, I don't want to use the word intimidated, but this is not my favorite overhead panel. Battery 1, battery 2, both going on. I don't hear anything. Let's turn on sounds. There we go. Okay, battery 1, battery 2 is on. External AC. Okay, important safety tip about this airplane. You're going to have two kinds of buttons here, on and off, and rocker, 3 ways. So we're going to go ahead and do a 3-way switch. You can always tell those are 3-way switches because it's got 3 dots on it. Okay, so external AC is on, and we're starting to hear more noise out of the airplane. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do nav lights. Let everybody on the ground know that there's some idiot in the flight deck punching buttons. And navigation lights, we're going to turn on the high intensity up there. So we'll just do high intensity. Could be that they start on the ground with low, I'm not sure. Okay, so we'll do that. We're going to be fueling the airplane, so I'm going to do no smoking. We're going to arm the emergency cabin emergency exit lights, and all of those are good. Now then, we're going to look down here. 2 braking systems. You can see it's pointed over to the yellow side, and then there is the green side. It says make sure you're pointed over to yellow and that the brakes are on. Now we're going to come back up here, and we're going to do the yaw dampers 1 and 2. That's all the way up here. So yaw dampers 1 and 2. You kind of got to tilt your head a little bit like this. Yaw dampers 1 and 2. Let's do the AP Master and Avionics Masters A and B. Okay, those are looking pretty good. Let's look down here a little bit, and we're going to be looking for anti-skid. Whoops, went down a little too far. There's anti-skid, and anti-skid goes to on. So anti-skid is on. Yellow and green lift spoilers. Those are on. So yellow and green lift spoilers. I'm losing my place. AC/DC bus ties to auto. Okay, that's not the these are hydraulic pumps. So go down here, and there's the AC/DC bus ties. So we are clearly on the highway to hell here. Standby inverter and generators are armed. Or yes, those are armed. I have my notes say auto, so I need to change that. Generators 1 and 4 are off reset. That's good. The APU generator can go on. So the APU generator is on. The left inner fuel tank, so there's the left inner fuel pump is going on, and then we can come up and do the APU master switch, which is up here. And here comes the APU master. And if we go outside, I'll bet we'll hear the APU. Jokes about this little airplane. So they say this is the airplane, the high wing airplane with 4 hair dryers on the wings with a 5th hair dryer in the back of the airplane. Now, an interesting thing is we've got the air brake in the back kind of being funny here. It could be because I moved the lever here. So we may need to turn the hydraulic system on to close that. I don't know. And it looks like we have the APU going. All right, so let's come on back here. So APU master switch is good. I'm going to strobe my little list to-do list down. So after APU, now the master switch is on. So the next thing we can do is we can do APU air. So here is APU air, that goes on. And then either pack 1 or pack 2. Yesterday it was pack 2, so we'll do pack 1. Now then, very important, another live streamer over on Twitch, Sim Caesar, always encourages us to turn on the galley power. I do too. We don't want warm coffee and warm beer and cold coffee. So there you go. You got to have the galley power on. I mean, the ice cubes are going to melt. The pretzels will probably still be stale, but, you know, we don't want that. All right, so all of that's good. Let's do engine anti-ice. Apparently, we turn that on now, no matter what. So we're going to get that. I guess we have to just maybe warm up the engines or something. That's just in my notes. Emergency lights for the cockpit get armed. And you've probably noticed, okay, it's kind of hard to see things here. So one of the things that I also like to do, it's not in my notes, let's come over here, and we're going to turn up dim instruments and dim panel. And then we're going to come over here and dim the glare shield. So we're gonna turn those up, and now all of a sudden you can start seeing things a little bit easier. We can come down here to the pilot side, and if you look down here, we can do panel instruments. And then if you come over here, we can also do some panel instruments down here. So forward console, and I'm turning it up about 3 clicks or something like that to about 11 o'clock. Aha, now we can see stuff a heck of a lot better. Yaw dampers 1 and 2, that's on the pedestal. So we turn the yaw dampers up, upstairs up on the upper panel, but there's another button down here. And so we're going to turn on yaw damper 1 and 2. And by the way, there is your autopilot engage, and there is pitch. I had to look for those. And then the last thing we'll do is look over here to the co-pilot. And way over here, there is this oxygen switch that you click. And that is the main supply of oxygen, so that, you know, we can like breathe. I guess that's an important thing here. All right, initial pre-flight, our parking brakes are set. Although we checked that earlier, but it's in my notes twice there. Next thing is the center fuel tank transfer. And the center fuel tank transfer goes to auto. Final cruising altitude. This took a while for me to figure out, but our final cruise today is 32,000 feet. So let's gonna dial this up. So here we go, cabin altitude, keep going. So flight altitude's here, 25,000. We're going to flight level 320. It stops at 29,000. It can't go up anymore. We're going to pressurize the cabin to 8,000 feet. We're not going to pressurize it anymore. So you stop right there. And I said, did I do something wrong? No, we're just not going to pressurize it above 8,000 feet. Okay, so we got that. And then this is one of the most interesting things of all about this airplane. We're going to go ahead, and the ice detector is the only switch here that's guarded. So it's sort of like, don't touch. It's the no touchy button or something like that. Okay, probably for me on this airplane right now, this is the most perplexing system of the whole thing. And this is the takeoff performance system, the TMS. And this is sort of, there's no auto throttle, so this is sort of, kind of, a little bit maybe like it. Okay, I have to admit, I've read up on this a little bit. I need to read a lot more. But my notes say we're going to turn it on. We are going to do a temperature reference. And so the temperature reference here, it says 14 degrees. Look down here and see the outside air temperature. It is what? 9. So it's 9 degrees. So we're going to set this to 9. So there's our OAT, temperature reference. Okay? That's good. After that, we're going to hit takeoff. And let's see. After that, it's a flex or a derate. And right now, I've been told that a maximum TGT temperature, this is full thrust takeoff, is 857 degrees. I'm leaving it at 820. I'm leaving it at 820. So that's what I know so far, and I've got a lot more to learn about this airplane. After that, you come over to the V-speed chart, and I'm going to zoom out a bit. See the airspeed indicator up here? We're going to click it, and your bugs are now set for takeoff. Pretty cool. I like that one. And then after that, we're going to turn the TMS off. And that is TMI about the TMS. So, sorry about that. Couldn't resist that silly joke. Okay. Autopilot. So we're going to do flight directors on. Heading. So first step is runway heading. Well, I've already gone and got my charts set up here. So we're going to come over here, and we're departing off runway 25. So that's going to be 254 degrees. So now this is a little awkward. So here's your heading knob, and this is what we're going to dial over here. So here is the course heading down here. So dial this down to 254. 254, that's exactly set. Now you see, it's hard to see, but the heading indicator there is moving. Just go ahead and dial that over to 254, center that up. And then you can go, and if you want, dial this back to 0. Okay, so that's how I'm setting that. I don't know that that's a really great way to do that, but it makes it easier for me to see exactly where to set this on the runway heading. Okay, after that, we are going to do autopilot heading arm, and now that's armed. Next thing we're going to do is altitude. Did not get a SID going out. There is a RNAV vectors SID. It's just us. Let's go ahead and do our final cruising altitude. And this one is actually, this is kind of cool on this airplane. So it actually has a little handle so you can crank it around in the real airplane. And so we'll just go ahead and we're going to go to our final cruise, which is 32,000 feet. And, you know, maybe our initial climb would have been, 7,000 feet or something. So there is 32,000 feet. Okay, that's good. And then we hit altitude arm. And there we go. All right. Now we're going to go to the FMS. This thing does not appear to have gotten much of an upgrade. And the only thing that I've really found that you can do with this is import a flight plan. So this airplane is just begs for VOR to VOR navigation. But if you're going to fly it on VATSIM, so what I'll do is I'll go into the index page and then go to page 2, go into the database route menu, and your pilot ID you would need to enter in here. So there's your pilot ID on SimBrief, and it should load your flight plan. Now I've found that usually that's Janesville, and I already checked this yesterday. You want the top one. Okay, so it didn't really grab the whole flight plan for you, but I think it's going to work okay. So first of all, you do need to put in KORD. Now, it does not let you put in an alternate airport on this one. It did get our flight number, though, so that's pretty good. Let's look at page 2 real fast. Nothing appeared in there, so what we'll do is let's hit execute now. So nothing is over here, but let's go watch what happens when I click legs. Oh, there's our flight plan. So again, no understanding of what it is that's going on with that, but there you go. Now we can go to departure and arrival. We're going to depart off of runway 25, and it seemed to know 25. Last night, VATSIM gave us the Thunder Bay 9 departure. Let's just go with a direct departure out. Now we'll come out of here. Arrival. So yesterday, Microsoft Flight Sim, SimBrief, excuse me, I need more coffee. SimBrief gave me the Flight 7 arrival. Eventually, they put us on the Ernie 7 arrival. So I was making all sorts of changes. Here's Flight 7, and we pick it up at Champion here. And I think that that's what our flight plan is, but eventually they put us over on Ernie. So one thing I'm not going to do is make the changes and see if we, if we don't get hesitations, maybe that was it. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead with Flight 7, and we're going to come in via Champion and execute that. As far as runways, yesterday, Chicago was landing on the 10s. Now they're in the opposite direction. So 27 center, ILS 27 center is what SimBrief is giving me. I'm not going to go to Vogler. Let's just go ahead and try that. So that's a little bit of a difference from yesterday, and we'll see if that works. Now go back into legs. So now all of a sudden the legs are a little different. So now all of a sudden fight is in there. Runway 25, fight, and champion. So this was really weird. There's fight, mortar, cogs. So it wiped out everything. So the flight plan is now gone. I don't pretend to understand what's going on with all of this. So KORD, did anything show up here? Direct to Jambo and the ILS. So now all of a sudden something has showed up. And this just seems really weird to me. The way that I fixed it is I went to index, I went to page 2, I went to route menu, and I recalled the flight plan again. Now, maybe I did something wrong. But this was just really, really weird. And now I'm going to go ahead and execute it again, and let's see if this works. So legs. Now all of a sudden it's back. Runway 25, DLL, MSN, Javelin, Champion, and ORD. So all of that seems to be in there, and it's back. Now we go to departure and arrival. Runway 25 is selected. Arrival, Flight 7, Champion, execute. And now let's go back to legs and see if it wiped it out again. Now it didn't do it. So this was something that happened yesterday. Again, maybe I'm doing something wrong. There's JVL, Champion, Colesby, and all that looks good. It did not load in the runway because I didn't do that yet, because I'm going to switch runways. But anyway, there we go. No idea what I did wrong. Let's go ahead and put that back in. I forgot. I was thinking of switching over to the north side runway. Let's keep it the same. So it's going to be the ILS 27 center. 27 center. We're not going to do Vogler. Let's go back and legs and see. Okay, it's all still in there. It's all still good. Now, we're the first checkpoint is Duluth. Soon after takeoff, they gave us direct from Duluth. We got another direct out of there. So we're not going to go all the way to Duluth. Now I think that that's about as good as it gets. We'll go to index. I usually leave this in progress. Come on down here. We're not on VATSIM, but we'll turn on the radio. And we'll go to 122.8 just because habit, I guess. We should also go down here and start squawking. 2000. 2. Okay, so we're good to go there. All right, so all of this is great. And I think at this point in time, we're ready. The passengers are loaded. Let's go ahead and do flying things. So first things first, we're going to look down here. And we do have APU generator says it's offline. Let's turn off the AC and see what happens. Now the APU generator is online, so that's good. Time to close the doors, but before we can do that, we have to do some stairs here. We can also pull the ground power, but to pull the stairs, you got to come up here, and you have to turn on the AC pump. AC pump is on, and we can go and hit the stairs and go outside, and you can see the stairs retracting. If you don't turn on the AC hydraulic pump, the stairs don't go up. And so we got those taken care of. Once you do that, you can go and turn this back off again. There we go. And we can close the forward passenger door. And passenger door is closed. All right. After passenger door, we can come over here and we'll do fasten seatbelts. Seatbelts are on. Let's also do the beacon. The beacon is way up here. So beacon can go on. Beacon is on. It's still kind of early in the morning. I'm going to turn on the logo light just because. And now we're ready to go into our pushback. So this is where we're going to use this little thing called Pushback Helper. And Pushback Helper seems to work with all the airplanes pretty well. It is an application that you can download from flightsim.to. It runs outside of Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it works pretty good. So come on over here and call your tug, and you'll see the tug's going to start rolling. We'll look down and make sure parking brakes are on. Parking brakes are on. We're going to have to pull the chocks in just a second. Now, this is an interesting pushback here. So if you look here, we've got all this stuff over here. And so we're just going to push it straight back so that we can get away from all the ground clutter here. Actually, if you wanted to, you could just taxi straight out if you wanted, but there you go. So tug is almost connected. It's a very big tug for such a small airplane. Usually you hear, when you see the tug kind of go eek like that, it's the best word I can come up with. That means it's connected. So I'm going to pull the chocks. You have to pull your own chocks on this airplane. come on down here and release the parking brake. Parking brake is released. Look up and hit reverse. And we are pushing. Okay, let's go a little bit to the left here. So we don't want to hit the jetway. And we're going to continue straight back. This is a really weird parking place for this one. Especially with the jetway right over there. I'm not sure that's... This is a default airport, though. Okay, so we got this one guy standing over there. Now we're going to go and push it a little bit to the right. There's a little rabbit hole-y right now, but it also shows just how valuable pushback helper really is. I think it's really pretty cool. And we'll straighten it out. And we'll stop it. Come on back down here. Parking brakes. Look up here. Hit the tug button. And then we can go and get rid of pushback helper. And I usually at this point exit it out. You can also use pushback helper to operate jetways and a few other things. It's not, you know, like a GSX thing, but that works pretty good. All right, so all of this is good. Pushback is done. So we come up here and APU air goes off. But first I think you do the pack and then the APU air goes off. Galley power goes off right now. Shh, don't tell Sim Caesar. Galley power goes off. Fuel pumps are going to go on. So fuel pump on, and on. Start power. Start power, or I think it's start master. Start power is normal. Starter master is on, and I think we're ready to go. Now then, we start this engine, this airplane, 4, 3, 2, 1. So starters, 4. Okay, so that's good. Start switch. It makes an interesting sound. Look down at your engine instruments, and you'll see the N2 going up at 10%, 9, and 10. Look down at your throttles. Click the lever, and that's your fuel cutoff. And if you look down here, hairdryer number 1 has started. Engine start sounds are pretty good. If the light was shining in a different direction, we'd look in the engines. You can see the fans moving pretty good too. So they've got those set up pretty nice. And it looks like we got a good start on engine number 4. All the lights are starting to go out here, so that's good. I usually wait until the engine's stable. So when we start to see the N1 stabilize here, then we can go and start another engine. So come on over here, engine 3, and hit the start button. And then look down here. There's the N2. Is it going up? It sure is. So 8, 9... 10% and fuel. And another hairdryer is going. So far, I am not seeing the little... Sorry, can't come up with a better word. The hesitations that are going on. So far, I think that the big difference today is this is a fresh load up of the simulator, and I kind of think that that's what's saving me from that. So let's go ahead and start engine number 2. Engine number 2 is going up. So I guess my new little... personal rule is going to be if I'm going to change airplanes, if I'm going to go fly one airplane and decide, okay, I've had enough of doing that, I want to go fly another airplane, I'm going to go at that point in time and stop the simulator, completely exit out, and then go back in. No idea if that's the way it's supposed to be, no idea if I'm on the complete wrong track, but it seems to be what's working for me. Okay, we're getting a good start on that engine. Let's go over here, and we're going to go to METAR TAF. and CYQT. Thunder Bay. Let's go ahead and get the METAR up there. And we got a good start on that engine 2. Let's start engine 1. Starting. And we're going to watch this. And we've got clouds everywhere. Winds are nothing at nothing. The altimeter here is 2986. There's 10%. And fuel. And 2986. Tends to move a little bit quickly here, and sometimes you have to fine-tune this. I also have it set to do the co-pilot, but again, it's usually off by 1 click or something like that. I don't know what the problem is with that. And there we go. We have 4 hair dryers going. 5 if you count the APU. Okay, so all of those are good. Now at this point, engine anti-ice if it's needed. I don't think it's all that cold outside, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the engine anti-ice at this point. So engine anti-ice goes off. Generators 1 and 4. So generators 1 and 4 are down here. On. This is one of those 3-way switches. So generator 1 and 4 are on. It says they're offline. That's probably because the APU generator is still on. APU air goes off. APU air goes on, excuse me. Packs 1 and 2 can go on. And packs 1 and 2 are up here. See, you get lost in this upper panel here. Engine 2 and 3 hydraulic pumps are over here. Hydraulic pumps are now on. AC hydraulic pump goes back on. So AC hydraulic pump goes on. The PTU pump goes on now. There's a whole slew of heaters down here. Screen heaters. There's also some sort of a battery pitot heater. So we're going to do all of the heaters on there. And then we come back to the takeoff performance system. And we're going to just turn it on. And very, very important, the all-important galley power switch goes on. Galley power is on. And we're going to go ahead and do the transponder. And we'll start the transponder. And we'll do transponder to start and then TARA for takeoff. Now then, the only thing that appears to be weird to me right now is I have generators are offline here. Now it could be that that has to do with the APU generator. So if we turn off the APU generator, I bet those lights go off. I'm not sure. I might be doing something wrong. That's different for me. I probably screwed that up. Sorry. Okay, so let's see. One of the things I noticed is the speed brake was open. And now all of a sudden the speed brake has closed itself, so that's good. Flaps for takeoff. I've found that the flaps on this airplane, so 18, 24, 30, and 33, those match up perfectly with the flap levers over on the Thrustmaster Airbus controller. That is actually really pretty cool. So flaps are set. Check your rudder and aileron. So rudders and ailerons are good. Now, trim for takeoff. So you can see trim is now set to 3.5. Come over here to the electronic flight bag. Click this number here. And then look back down there. And now it's moved a little bit. So that's how you set your trim on this airplane. And then after that, if you come down here, tow brakes on, parking brakes off, look up here, and you do the config check. And nothing showed up, but there is one thing that is lit up. What's lit up here? Electrics. So this is something that it doesn't like. I've done something wrong here with my electrical system. So parking brake is off. Okay, everything's pulled over here. Let's look into the electrical system and see what I've done. Batteries. Oh, I think maybe it's the start master. Start master I forgot to turn off. There we go. I knew I was doing something wrong. Okay, config check is good. Continuous ignition, we don't need that. It's not rating. Cabin is secured. Taxi lights. Taxi lights are right over here on the same switch as landing lights. So taxi lights are on, and it's taxi time. So we got this person standing out here. We're not going to hit them. So we'll look down here. Parking brakes are off. And now sit back, feet on the rudder pedals. I usually start with the inner engines, but this airplane is already rolling. And let's keep going. Here's the thing about this airplane. If you've got nose wheel steering set up the way I do, if you've got the nose wheel steering set up, and there's that guy over there, we're not gonna hit that person. If you've got nose wheel steering on a tiller, on like the twist stick, and if you move your rudder pedals, that cancels out the twist stick. So if you have to brake or something like that, and you all of a sudden wonder, wait a minute, how come I'm not going in the right direction here? That's the reason why. Now maybe that's a setting that I don't have set up correct, but that's kind of a little scary after you try that. Okay, one of the things I always like to do at any airport is I like to have the airport map up, and I always like to have flight tracking turned on, just so that I know where I'm going. It's easy to get lost at airports. Okay, there's taxiway Alpha. We're going to Bravo. So flaps are good. Auto brakes and speed brakes are not set because this airplane doesn't have auto brakes and speed brakes. Well, yeah, it does have speed brakes. It does have the air brakes, but it's not automatic. You got to do it yourself. Or at least if there's an automatic system, I haven't found in it. I haven't found it, and of course we don't have auto brakes. Okay. And a little bit of braking here. And here we are at runway 25. We do have a bit of a back taxi to do. So we're coming out onto an active runway. At this point, I come up here and I do strobes. Bit of an attention freak when I go out onto a runway. It says, hey, this airplane is going to be out on a runway. Pay attention to me. This airplane is doing a thrust idle taxi at the moment, and it's pretty good. We're taxiing along, and if you look outside the airplane, I mean, really, this is kind of what it looks like, you know, for a good taxi speed. It's probably a little bit slow, you know, by, you know, car racing standards, but this is actually it now. But we'll add a little bit of power here as we get going, because we are in a runway and we don't want to spend too much time on it. All right, now then, before takeoff, strobe lights are on. Takeoff performance system, we're going to verify that it is now set to takeoff. So hit the TO button, and it is set to takeoff. Next steps are landing lights, throttles to 51%. Throttles then set up to the little yellow triangle, which is the thrust reference for takeoff, and it's up, and away time. Okay, we've got heading select set. Make sure altitude select is still good. So the autopilot is relatively ready to go. Picking up some speed. Slow it down a bit. A nice gentle turn around here for and a nice little lineup. I am not seeing the annoying little hesitations that I saw earlier, which is really nice. Okay, landing lights go to full. And landing lights are good. Throttles go up to 51%. There's 51%. Are we stable? Now throttles can...
DMS sets takeoff.
And throttles go up to the little yellow mark.
Speed alive, both sides. 80 knots cross-checked. V1, power set, flaps achieved. Rotate, V2.
And we are up and away. I think we're climbing perhaps a little bit too fast. Ah, there's that flight director. Now it's a little bit happier with me.
The FTO, safe flight speed, select flaps.
Flaps going up, pushing the nose down just a little bit. Speed's coming up now. I'm watching for 250 knots on our climb. Now let's go over here, and I'm going to go for heading hold. Everything else is good. Let's do AP. Autopilot is engaged. We're climbing. There's 250 knots. Let's go ahead and we're going to hit IAS climb. And we're looking pretty good here. We've almost got this centered up here as we head over to Duluth, which is our initial heading. We're climbing at, well, a little more than 250 knots. Actually, I'm climbing a little fast at the moment. Now then, from here, after this, we need to go to sync, and we need to pull our throttles back just a little bit. It's in master, because we're kind of using the engines a little bit too much there. Okay, so that's good. Let's go over here, and we're going to do engineer. Engineer's going on. APU air, it can go off. PTU pump can go off. APU master can go off. AC hydraulic pump should have gone off in that list too. Okay, how are we doing here? We're still climbing pretty good, a little bit fast. Let's see, we went over our course heading over to Duluth. And it says the APU's going off with a big old alert in front of you saying, you know, what are you doing? Okay, now we're heading to Duluth. Sort of. Let's go and do a direct to. This was about when we got our direct to DLL. Execute and LNAV. Now we're going to do our first big turn that we got. I am definitely not seeing that big hesitation thing that caused me so much trouble yesterday. So, yeah, I really think that the thing to do is if you're changing airplanes in the middle of a flight, or you finish a flight in one airplane and you want to fly another airplane, get out of Flight Simulator completely. Back to index and progress. We're going through some clouds. The temperature outside the clouds is... it's below 10 degrees. We're coming into clouds. We may have to be worried about icing. 'Tis the season. And we flew over a line, so it's going to kind of seesaw us back and forth a little bit. There's 10,000 feet, landing lights. And we continue the climb. So, problem from last night, problem number one that got solved was, oh, is that an ice warning? Ice detected. So let's go ahead and do, at least we'll do the engine anti-ice just in case. So problem one from last night, biggest one was, aside from the fact that I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to certain things here in the power control system here, is restart the sim when you change airplanes. Okay, now I do have some new information for a climb target. Oh, rats, I don't have that information. I thought I saved that. Somebody gave me a really nice rule of thumb on that. It doesn't look like I saved it. Rats, that's too bad. Well, we're not burning up the engines too badly. It's a little bit low. We're climbing at about 1,000 feet per minute. So we could add just a little bit more power here. And that'll help with our climb. So if you're flying along with me, generally what I do is as we climb out, one of the things that we do is I will pause the video so you don't have to sit here and listen to me yammer along about nothing at all during cruise. You know, what would be interesting to see now is let's go to options and FPS. What are we doing? Well, right now I'm getting about 35 to 45. Let's see, the red banner is up, so that tells me that something is working a little bit too hard. I haven't taken the time to learn everything about the FPS monitoring here. I do have FPS limited globally on my system to 60 FPS. So, but it seems to be working fairly decently at the moment. We're smooth and not bad FPS. All right, let's go down here and let's turn that off. And the ice is no longer detected, so I'm going to turn this off. And keep all the alerts off. We're done with takeoff, so at this point I'm going to click my speed card, and that's just going to kind of compress all of my bugs over here. Now then, at this point in the flight, we were getting, okay, you've got to change your star. And they, at that point, said instead of doing the Fight 7, they moved us over to Ernie on this one. So that brought us in to the north of Chicago. So we can go here. We're not going back to Thunder Bay. Let's clear this out. Let's come on down here, KORD. And instead of Fight, ATC moved us to Ernie. And they had us come in direct Foghorn. So let's go and see if that has an impact here. So to do this, we went to departure and arrival. We came to arrival. We left that there, but we clicked this and we clicked Ernie and Foghorn. And then we executed that. We went to legs, and now this was a little bit different. And there's Foghorn. So then what we were told to do is go direct to Foghorn. And then we executed that. And here is our turn, and we are now direct to Foghorn. Passing 16,000 feet, climbing at about 1,200 feet per minute. That's not awful. Altitude arm is still on. Otherwise, I think this airplane just goes climbing right through everything. We are 227 miles out of Foghorn now. The only other thing that we got about this point was they were saying cross Foghorn at flight level 230. I don't know why I remember that, but so 23,000 feet at Foghorn. Now this airplane doesn't have, these numbers don't mean a lot, no real VNAV, but I did put a slash in here and 23,000 feet as a reminder, sort of for me, for Foghorn. And 18,000 feet, so 2992 on the altimeters. And then, like I say, so it's 2992 here. It's set the other one to 2991. So I'll do one click there, and we'll do the first officer one click. The only other thing I think I forgot to do was I forgot to go over here and go from transponder to Terra. So that would then put TCAS traffic up here. And I think that's about it. We're climbing nicely. Our, I remember what it was now. Above 24,000 feet. Yes. Okay, so at flight level 240, change to Mach 6.5. That was the hint I got. So at 24,000 feet, we should go to Mach 6.5. This thing seems to be a little jittery today. So what that tells me is we may have to turn off IAS or just hit the Mach button. And maybe that's how you continue your climb. And that was the little hint that I got that I forgot to write down in my notes. I've now put them in the notes and save it. There we go. Okay. So we'll continue the climb. Let's go ahead and we'll stick with this until we hit the Mach button and see how that works. And then I'll hit pause on the video, and then generally when we're a little bit oh, actually, you know what? We got a new toy over here. We have a top of descent calculator. So you sync your altitude, a target altitude. So what was it? It was 23,000 feet. And I usually like to go V-speed of 1,500. And then sync your ground speed. So we've synced these. There's target altitude. There's desired V-speed, feet per minute. So we've got this to play with too. Okay. So we'll see what happens. Because we need to be at 23,000 feet before Foghorn. And right now we are 205 miles away from Foghorn. There's 22,000. We are starting to see the Mach indicator get a little bit closer. So when we see 6.5 pop in there, then we can go ahead and hit that button. Must have a little turbulence today. Oh, ice is detected. I don't know how serious it is, but let's at least get engine anti-ice on. because we don't want our little hair dryers to ice up. Aside from the fidgety airspeed indicator, this seems pretty good to me. Okay, it looks like we're going to hit Mach 6.5, fairly close to 24,000 feet. So my little hint seems to be playing out again today, which was great. How are we doing with the engines here? I am at about 90. So we're not anywhere near any red zones or anything like that. I don't think we're burning up the engines. So I think we're actually doing what we're supposed to do here. Okay, there's 24,000 feet. We're not quite to Mach 0.65 here because my speed's off a bit. So to do that, we could turn over, we could go to vertical speed. And we could climb a little bit more, and that will reduce that. I want to get my speed down to about 250 knots, which was what we were supposed to climb at. And then we could hit Mach 0.65. I don't know, that thing jittering around, being jittery like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's go back down here. I'm doing the vertical speed pitch here. We're almost to Mach 0.65 here. Again, I'm experimenting now. Mad scientist at the controls. Okay, we need to go down a little more. All right, I think that's about as close as we're gonna get. Almost to Mach 6.5. That's close enough. Let's hit the Mach button and let that take over. Mach climb. Okay. So that was a new hint that I got. We'll see if that actually works. How we doing here? Now all of a sudden we're getting 14 miles. So to be at flight level 230, descending at about 1,500 feet per minute, we need 15 miles to go. We are 181 miles from Foghorn. So rather than make you listen to me yap, let's go ahead and enjoy the nice view outside the airplane. I'm going to hit pause on the video for just a bit. And when we get to 50 miles from top of descent here, if you're flying along, restart your video and we'll see what happens. Hey, welcome back. Okay, does give a whole new meaning to the term droning on and on as you sit and play with the drone cam. But it is a cool little airplane, that's for sure. Thanks for coming back. How are we doing? Let's hop back into the best seat in the house here. And we are 70 miles out of Chicago O'Hare. Our top of descent indicator at final cruise was 43 nautical miles. And as you can see, my airspeed, we did make it to our top of climb and we're a little above 0.7. So I've been slowly tweaking my notes about this thing here, and right now my target temperature here, and it's not really, what is this? This is TGT, stands for turbine gas temperature, and that's Mustafa taught me that one. Mustafa's a live streamer over on Twitch who does a lot of airplanes. So, okay, so it's supposed to be about 640 to 710. And I'm at about 660 here. And so setting it to TGT, so there's 650. And if we come over here, you'll see it drops the engines just a little bit. And if we look over here, we're supposed to be cruising at Mach 0.7. Did you also notice that the Mach indicator stopped, shivering? So I don't know what happened with that. But we're starting to get the speed down there. So just like for yesterday's flight, we wanted to be at 23,000 feet at Foghorn. And we need 43 miles to do that. We are 60 miles away from Foghorn. I always like to add a little bit to that. So instead of 43, let's make it about 50. So 23,000 was the altitude that I was given by ATC yesterday. So 23,000 at Foghorn. All right, there's 23,000 feet. So let's see. Decision height, I have it in my notes to set this now. It's going to be 200 feet for the ILS that we're doing. I did check the Chicago weather. Chicago is still landing on the 27, so 27 Center is a good runway for us for our landing. And by just dropping this down here to, what are we at? We're at 650. You can see, okay, come on. Well, how is that? Now we're getting closer to what our actual cruise was supposed to be, which is Mach 0.7, so not bad. Coming up on 50 miles. Now, the other thing that I usually do at this point in time is set up the nav radios. So the ILS for runway 27 center is 111.9. So, how we doing? What do we got? 52 miles. Let's start the descent and then we'll do all of that. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to hit altitude arm, thrust management, descend, and then we reduce our speed to 250 knots and then hit IAS. So that's about as close. Let's go ahead, altitude arm, descend. Pull the throttles back a little bit here. And we're looking for 250 knots. Coming up on 250 knots. Speed still coming down. There's 250 knots. IAS. And we should start. And then we adjust our throttles to get about 1,500 feet per minute. Okay, wow, that's a real fast descent. I'm sure the passengers' stomachs went, whoa, okay. So one of the problems that I run into with this airplane is I've got the Thrustmaster Airbus controllers here. And the Thrustmaster Airbus controllers have the detents in them. And so the obvious answer is, well, gee, just turn off the detents. The thing is, the detents are plastic. And I don't just want to start turning detents on and off. So there's about 1,800, 1,500 feet per minute. That's about what we wanted for our descent. So there we go. Perfect. So I don't just want to be turning the detents on and off all the time because that's going to eventually wear out the plastic. And I don't have unlimited funds for, replacing controllers. So that's the reason why I'm putting up with that. But the detents do cause me a problem with throttle control every now and then on this airplane. Now let's go ahead and set the ILS information in. So here's our VHF nav radio. And I usually like to do the preset 111.9. And there we go. 111.9, and I'm going to make that active. The next thing I'm going to do is put the inbound course in, which is 273 degrees. So 273. There we go. And we've already gone and put in decision height. So all of our information is now set for our landing in Chicago. So let's see. PTU pump, according to my notes, goes on in the descent. So the PTU pump's going to go on. Cabin altitude target. If I'm reading this correctly, what that means is we set our cabin altitude this to our landing elevation, which is in Chicago 680 feet. So dial this down to there is 680 feet. Okay, so that's 2,000, 1,000. So cabin altitude would be 680, I guess, right there. So we set the cabin altitude to 680 feet for our descent. I don't know if that's correct. That's just what I'm doing. How are we doing? So about 1,800 feet per minute. It says we need 17 miles to get to flight level 230. We're 26 miles out. I think we're going to hit that altitude fairly close. Okay. How are we doing here on the map? So you can see we're kind of coming in here pretty good. So to the north of Chicago, looking at the Ernie arrival now, you can see we're on Ernie and we are heading toward Foghorn. After Foghorn, it'll be Falls, Cole, and Cheddar. So let's look in the flight plan here and make sure that that's what's happening. No, legs, not that. So Falls, Cole, Gurn. Okay, there was another one in there called Gurn. There's Cheddar. Oh, and by the way, at Cheddar, we have to be at 14,000 feet. So I have another descent that we have to do there. I think we're in good shape. So LNAV has got our backs. We're going to be at flight level 230, pretty close to where we want to be. We'll try and hold, let's see, we're above 10,000 feet. Are there any speed restrictions on this? Let's see if we've got anything here. So at Foghorn, no. Cole, Cheddar, no speed restrictions on this one. So we can go ahead and after we hit the altitude, we can increase the throttles a bit and cruise a little bit and maybe kick it up to about 290, 280. So we're not just, creeping into Chicago. See, coming on down here, we should probably go ahead and do seatbelts. And seatbelts. Captain Rex is flying ahead of us. Okay, there was the altitude horn reminding us we're going to get to that altitude, so we should be ready with our throttles. And we're going to kick it up just a little bit here. One of the things that I did is for 4 engines airplanes, I went and bought a second set of Thrustmaster throttles. So most of the Thrustmaster Airbus throttles, 2 levers. I bought a second set so I can have 4 levers. Kind of a cool idea, except for the fact that it's for the Airbus A320, twin engine airplane. And so if you're trying to grab all 4 of those, it can really be sort of a wide, you've got to have very, very wide hands to get them all. And for thrust reversers, forget it. So it was a neat idea, but okay, so we're not burning up the engines. We're really just below, but our speed's still coming down here. So we're going to add just a little bit more. Right up to the little yellow line there. And I don't think we're going to overspeed, but we don't want to come in at 240 knots. That's ridiculous. And we should be pretty close to Foghorn, 6 miles away and 23,000 feet. So we're pretty good. We're on altitude hold. LNAV has still got our back. Our next altitude is going to be 14,000 feet. And that's where we need to be, 14,000 at Cheddar. So we can come in here and we can put 14,000 feet in at Cheddar. About another 15, well, let's make it 18. We were doing pretty good at 18, so let's do that. We need 31 miles from where we are right now to get to 14,000 at Cheddar. So we're here at Foghorn. What do we got? There's 20 miles, there's 7 miles, there's 7 miles, there's 10 miles. So maybe about halfway through there. Little after Cheddar, after Foghorn, we'll start down. So we'll go ahead and do 14,000. That's going to be our next altitude. Got to hit that. And there is 14,000. I could have added all of those distances together, but let's just eyeball this one. There's only so many rabbit holes that we can go down, right? All right, let's give this another shot. So altitude, and let's reduce those throttles back to where they were earlier for a descent at about 250 knots. Let's go back here and make sure that descent is still set, so that's good. I want my speed to go down to about 250. How about 270? Let's descend at 270. We don't need to creep in like this, right? We don't need to creep into Chicago. We're above 10,000 feet. We haven't got ATC telling us to slow it down. Okay, how are we doing there? And, well, we're going down around 2,000 feet per minute. So let's add just a touch of power and get that more to 1,800. Okay, there's about 1,800 feet per minute. Cool. Not bad. And we're coming up on Falls, Cole, Gurn, and then Cheddar. So we'll see how close we get to Cheddar. Okay, now, yesterday we were landing to the east. Chicago is now landing west. So we're going to break it off at Ernie. After Ernie, we're going to do vectors, so we'll continue south to go ahead and grab the ILS for 27 center. I think that's pretty easily done. So we'll be our own. We'll do our own vectors, Victor. Let's hear it for moving maps. AW1105 is flying ahead of us today. There is Zoni in de Havilland Twin Otter, I guess. We got an Otter flight today too. So these are all people that are flying in Microsoft multiplayer. It's kind of early in the day. Usually I do the YouTube videos early in the day like this. So there's not an awful lot probably going on VATSIM either. All right, so there is Falls. Our next one is Cole. Yep, next is Cole. Then Gurn, and then Cheddar, which would definitely leave the door open for some cheesy jokes. Ooh, 18,000 feet. We need to do weather. I've already gone over here. We can redo this. So here's Mitar Taft. Link in the description. This really is one of the best tools for somebody doing VATSIMing. So Chicago, I've checked over here on FlightAware, which is what I usually look at. You could also look at Flight Radar 24. The latest weather, winds 200 at 10, 2993 is the altimeter. It's favoring landing on the 22s. but Chicago's landing on the 27s and 28s right now. So 2993 is our altimeter setting. So 2993 and 2993 and 2993. Altimeters are good. How's our descent? We're descending about 1,800 feet per minute, a little faster than 250 knots. I see another airplane has popped in. How's our descent here? We need 8 miles to get to Cheddar, so clearly I should have done a little bit more math because we still have to go to Gurn. So we've still got about 14 miles to Cheddar. So eyeballing was good, but you know, it was my usual not great, not terrible kind of a thing. Picking up a little bit of wind here, so now we're descending at about 1,500 feet per minute, so that's going to extend our descent a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to get to 14,000 early, so no big problem there. We'll continue to cruise on in above 14,000 feet at we'll try and hit about 290, 280, 290 to come in. There is an altitude horn. That means that altitude arm is still armed, which is good. And there we are at Gurn. We're now direct to Cheddar, and we have 10 miles to Cheddar. And now I'm officially ready for something with cheddar cheese on it. Wonder if that affects real-world pilots like that too. And what do those real-world pilots do when they are told to go direct to Margarita? And there's 14,000 feet. Now the speed is starting to go down, so I'm going to go ahead and push my throttles forward a little bit. It says that ice is now being detected. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to turn on my engine anti-ice. And there's our engines up just a little bit. I think I can add a little bit over here too. And I'd rather be up somewhere around 280, 290. Speed's coming up, so that's good. And we'll hold about 14,000 and change as we come on in there. And how far are we from Cheddar? 3 miles. After Cheddar, as we started to come on in, I got to descend and maintain 7,000. If we look over here as we come on in, altitude's going to be about 4,000. We're going to aim for something like Jumbo, I think, to come on in here. After landing on the center runway, we're going to get probably Echo 2. And then Romeo takes us into the gates. United Express parks down here in the Echo concourse. Briefing yourself on stuff like this is really kind of a sharp idea. You know, if you've got time to do this. Uh-oh. Overspeed. Now that could have also been because we got a wind change, so it's not always something to feel super guilty about. Sometimes the weather change really kind of kicks that into gear, but I also don't mind going this fast either. Okay, so we're past Cheddar. We'll continue to Linney. After Linney, we'll descend and maintain 7,000. Maybe we'll get a little bit closer to Ernie, and then we'll start our descent. That way we don't have to slow it down too much. So here we are after Cheddar, Lynn, Farley, Swiss, and Ernie. So maybe 7,000 by Ernie. and then 4,000 after Ernie. So let's go ahead and get the calculator again. And now instead of this one, we want 7,000. And there is 23 miles. So if we want to do that, there's 11. So let's start our descent around Farley here to 7,000 feet. And that should get us to 7,000 there. Maybe. We'll see. Uh-oh. Oh, so, okay. So I was trying to hit my quick view buttons. You have to hit an enter to get out of there. Nope, that didn't work either. Oops, not letting me out of this. There we go. It didn't let me out of there so I could look around. Uh-oh. Something disconnected. What could have disconnected? I heard the disconnect sound. Okay, so when that happens, just go ahead and have a look here. I can still move. I can still move stuff. How about... No, I can still move everything. So something disconnected in my world. I have no idea what it was. Oops, speed's gone down too. We don't want to be going that slow. We're halfway to Linney now, so 14 miles. About ready to go into some clouds too. Looks like we're gonna probably, I'm starting to see some convection here. Convection's the weather term for air going up. And that's to be little baby thunderstorms perhaps forming over here. Do we have thunderstorms in the Chicagoland forecast today? Chicago, mostly cloudy today, overspeeding. Scattered showers mainly before 10 p.m. tonight, 30%. And showers tomorrow, no word about thunderstorms though. And I overspeeded again. I think what's happening here is I'm kind of getting tagged by not being able to do some fine adjustments with my throttles. And so that's the problem here. So I've either got to start taking the detents out and not caring about wearing them out, or I don't know what else to do. I think also to take the detents out, you actually have to turn them over and unscrew them and then rescrew them. That's not going to be fun, because that gives you the opportunity to screw things up. And there's your bad joke on that today. All right, how we doing here? Ice is no longer detected, but we're about ready to go into the clouds. I don't know what the cost is about leaving the ice protection on right now, except maybe a little more fuel usage. And almost to Linney. So 7,000 feet is our next altitude. So 7,000 feet is what we want to do next. Now in this case, we definitely want to descend at 250 knots because we don't want to get a speeding ticket for below 10,000 feet. Okay, we're on our way to Farley, so let's go ahead and give this a shot. So altitude arm, roll the throttles back to about 250 knots, and then we will hit IAS. Airspeed's coming down. There's 260. 258. Slower than ever before. 255. 4, 3, 2, 1, and IAS. And down we go. Seems like we take a real nosedive after I hit that button. And down we go to 7,000 feet, and we're at 250 knots. We're not going to get a speeding ticket. Life is good, but we're going to be in some clouds, so that'll be interesting. Passengers are doing pretty good back here in the cabin. Cabin's not bad on this airplane. You know, it's a little bit grainy here and there. The seatbelt lights don't work, but I think that this is an okay cabin. Nice to be able to come back into the cabins too. That is a part of flight simming. Okay, another thing we need to start getting ready for is vectors. So let's go over here to the heading hold, and I'm just going to dial this up straight up, and I'm going to start making sure that we're ready to do heading hold as opposed to LNAV navigation, because we're going to have to do vectors, Victor. And we're looking pretty good. How many miles do we need? We need 15 miles, so it's 12 miles to Swiss, another 11 miles to Ernie. I think we're in pretty good shape. It's almost like we know what we're doing, and that's the scary part. We've set altimeters. Everything else is good. Not an awful lot of scenery to see today because of all the clouds in the Chicagoland area. Let's see, from a weather standpoint, Chicago-wise. So it looks like we've got, it's overcast down to 2,700. So that's pretty much it. 14 degrees, the dew point's 9, so we don't have to worry about fog. 2993 is already set. Winds are 200 at 10. That means that coming in, we're going to have a wind from the left blowing us to the right. Most of the wind, though, is whistling down the runway, it looks like. That didn't sound right. I think most of the wind is going to be blowing us off the runway. The least amount of wind, so we have to be ready for a crosswind, was my point. Okay, we're coming up on a mile away from Swiss. Boy, look at that. It even says that down there too. Isn't that great? Here's 10,000 feet, 250 knots. We can go ahead and do landing lights. Usually there's a 10,000, there's a cabin call at 10,000 feet. Do we have a cabin call button here? Cancel cabin call. So we just hit the cabin call button. I don't know how to turn that off. Maybe it'll go out. Maybe that's not the button to hit. That's just a cabin alert to say, hey, 10,000 feet. Oh, I think what that means is if you come down here, so your radio panel is down here, and so we needed to do intercom and punch that in. And so there's intercom. Maybe that was part of the problem. Yep, still lit. I don't know how to cancel it out. Sorry, flight attendants. Okay, we're definitely in the clouds now. What's temperature outside the airplane? It is well below 10 degrees, so we're going to leave engine anti-ice on. Okay, we are now also coming up to Ernie, 4 miles to Ernie. Let's go ahead and we're going to do continue our heading off of Ernie. So 2.5 miles going down to 7,000 feet. I think everything is in pretty good shape. 1 mile to Ernie. Let's go ahead and we're going to put it into heading mode now so that we can do vectors, Victor. Let's go ahead and at this point, since we're on vectors, we're going to go here and we're going to set up the dial in navigation. And for runway 27 center, that is going to be 273 degrees, 111.9. All of that is set up. So now we're just going to go and continue on south and see if we can't pick that up. Oh, and look at that. We now have glide slope and localizer. Well, okay then. We seem to be doing something right. Let's see. Let's go ahead and continue the descent to 4,000. So continue the descent to 4,000 there, airplane. Because we're pretty much on the descent glide slope path here. Yep, don't know how to cancel out the cabin call light. We do need to also start getting ready to slow the airplane down a bit. As we get closer to the ILS, I'm kind of keeping an eye over here on Navigraph. This kind of helps you out when you have to do your own vectors. So we're going south here. Let's go ahead and switch it now to the ILS. And when we start to see our little pink airplane show up somewhere in here, we'll have an idea of how well we're doing. And if it doesn't show up before too long, we know we're in big trouble. Now then, I think we do need to slow the airplane down a bit. So we're going to turn off IAS. And I'm going to pull the throttles back a little bit more. And let's get ourselves to 210. Because usually about now they want us to go to 210. And are we seeing the airspeed go down? We are. Maybe just a little bit more. That way we can also get some flaps ready to go. Definitely in clouds now. No ice is detected, but it's good to have the anti-ice on anyway. Speed is coming down, not quite fast enough, and we're getting a little high at the moment. So I'm going to pull the throttles back even more. And speed's coming down. Good. There's 240. We can throw out flaps 18 at 210, I believe. So maybe we need to slow it down even more. And looks like we have now, okay, definitely want to be slowing it down. We're getting close. So now I'm basically thrust idle. The Mach indicator has started going jittery on me again. I just did a little air brake here. I'm a little high and a little fast. You can see a little air brake in the back of the airplane opened up. All right, there, that's looking a little bit better. And almost to 210. We're also fairly good on our descent path right now. We're far enough out of jumbo, so we're going to be able to make a nice turn here in just a second. There's 210. I'm going to go ahead and turn left and see if we can't intercept. And there's 210. How about a notch of flaps? There's a notch of flaps. I don't want to go much slower than that. We're right on the descent path. We did slow down another notch of flaps. I'm going to do gear just 'cause. Here comes our localizer. We're doing fairly decently on the glide slope. I just did a little trim down. And let's go ahead and dial this over here and get ourselves in a general heading down the runway. Hey, look at that. There's Chicago. I can smell the Chicagoland pizza. We're a little slow here, even more. Do I have bugs for landing? I've got bugs for landing. There should be a runway ahead of us. Our descent path is really good. And just do another little tap on that nose wheel trim to keep us going down. Okay, gear is down, 3 green. Landing lights. Okay, I have, the APU is on. No, it is not. APU should be on. Okay, a little high. And we're continuing to descend. I have runway lights ahead of me. We're a little high still. I'm tapping the trim wheel to get us caught up. There we go. That's nice and caught up. Okay, if we've got an APU, let's do APU air, and we turn off engine air. I got an airport, I've got a runway. I think now it's about time for us to take control.
Autopilot disconnected.
Oh yeah, that's right. Where is the... How do we turn that off? That's annoying. If you do it with the button, then you can cancel it. All right, and now let's go ahead and get caught up over here. See, let's roll some throttle back just a bit here. This is about when we could slow it down for landing. This is 100% better than what happened last night. Last night, because of the hesitations in the sim, I couldn't get on a decent descent path at all. Okay, that's enough speed brake. Get a little help from the trim. A little bit high still, so we're going to roll the throttles back just a bit. Still a little high. Another tap on the trim button here. There's the Kennedy Expressway. And we're still a bit high, but I think we're catching up pretty good. Usually on a descent path and stuff, I found about 700 feet per minute if you're on the glide slope is a good general.
170, select flaps 30.
Flaps are 30. Are we catching up with the glide slope? Not really. Uh-oh. Hesitation. It was that bad on the whole thing. That was probably it loading in some scenery. Still not catching up with the glide slope. Let's get back over on the localizer. Hey, there comes the glide slope. Let's add a little power right now. And a little bit of nose up trim to help us with the descent. There's about 700 feet per minute.
Speed check below 145. Select flap 33.
And flaps are out. This is a particularly helpful first officer on this airplane with those kinds of control call outs. I really appreciate those. A tad bit high, but not bad. Now that's something I don't usually see. For a second there, I saw two red and two white pappies.
Plus 100.
Little high now. Definitely a little high.
Minimums.
Well, let's go for it anyway. It's a long runway. We're a small jet. What could possibly go wrong?
$50. $40. $30. $20. $10.
Ground idle. Yellow and green spoilers. Brake pressure seen.
Well, had a hard time getting centered up over there.
80 knots.
Oh, that's a little
60
nasty.
knots.
Well, we got off on the high speed decently. Welcome to Chicago. Let's see if did we get anywhere where we wanted to be. Actually, we did. That was not exactly the way I was hoping for, but it seemed to work out. Oh, should have recorded that. Let's do engine anti-ice off. And we should do taxi lights. Oh, I should have recorded that. This was a heck of a lot better, though. So my new rule is going to be sure and do a restart of the sim before you, if you change airplanes. I think that's got to be the new rule on that one. So flaps can go up. APU is already on. See, we should not be doing strobes because we're off the runway. Okay, crossing over 27 left. We just gave ourselves permission to do that because, you know, we can do those sorts of things, right? After 27 left, it's Romeo around to Alpha 9. And so we'll just do a little bit of taxiing here and try and stay out of trouble. We're getting a little bit closer now to Alpha 9, and I've been getting some really big hesitations coming in here as other airplanes pop in. So multiplayer airplanes popping in, and I'm going to guess also some of the VATSIM model matching might have been causing some of the big hesitations. We are, of course, in Chicago, so this is a scenery-intensive place for sure as we come on in. And let's see, I should have gone over to the other side there because these little airplanes, when they were flying them, probably were going over here to the Echo gates. I tell you what, if you're looking for a challenge, Echo 1 and Echo 2 down here, if you're flying a CRJ, there's a taxiing challenge for you if you're looking for that. I think I actually tried it on YouTube, here on YouTube in this airplane, and I think that the word disaster is probably good here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll get Echo 14 here at the gate. All in all, this was much better than what happened on the live stream last night. I really was. There's still some hesitations. I think that one of the problems that I'm dealing with still is maybe, well, first of all, my own skill. But also another big problem is going to be my controllers. They're not 100% good for this airplane. Parking brakes are on. APU is already on, so we can go engines, 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 engines. And we're going to go and do emergency exit, seatbelts, Beacon lights. So those are good. I should have done the nose light. We can come down here and we can go over here to the airplane tab. Let's do chocks. We can have ground power pop in. Let's go to forward passenger, forward cargo, and aft cargo. Come outside of the airplane. And then remember that little application we used when we started, pushback helper? So here's our door is already open, but we can get pushback helper, put it over here and hit jetway. And we're going to get a jetway. And I got to say the jetways here at this airport are really pretty good. And so we'll get a jetway out here. And not bad. Passengers can get off. Engines are off. I'll call that relatively successful flight. Relatively successful flight. Hey, as always, when it comes to the videos that I'm doing here on YouTube, this is not me getting on YouTube saying this is the right way and the only way to do it. It's not about the right way or the wrong way. This is just what it is that I'm finding is working for me. One of the things about Flight Simulator is all about learning. And so what works for me as I continue to learn is going to change a bit. And maybe that'll help you a little bit too. I'm still new here on YouTube, so reading all the questions and comments. If you know more about the airplane than I do, I can't wait to read what your comments are about this airplane and tell me, you know, the better way to set up that pesky little engine control system too. Big thank you to donors on Ko-fi and Patreon, and also the subscribers and gift subbers over on Twitch. You are definitely the jet fuel in my flight plan for sure. I really appreciate you flying along with me today. I hope that this was fun and maybe helped you get your own little airplane with hair dryers up in the air and back down on the ground again. I'll see you pretty quickly on Twitch and soon here again on YouTube. As always, I like to say stay healthy, stay safe, and see you soon.